I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's September 25th at September 25th, 2018. Please call roll.
Opening statement and roll call. Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 5, 2018. By the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Tri-Town News, Asbury Park Press, and Star Ledger for information and publication on January 5, 2018. By the filing of a copy of said form and notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 5, 2018. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to your right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell.
Here.
Mrs. Smith, excused absence this evening.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
He'll be on his way.
Mr. Nicastro.
Here.
Mayor Berger.
Present. Is there any reason to go into executive committee?
Yes,
Session?
Mayor, there is. Tonight we have to discuss ongoing litigation, some potential litigation, and the sale of real estate.
Okay.
I'll read the executive
you.
session resolution. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of the meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas at this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when the discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session and the public will be excluded in order that the items previously listed. Upon reconvening this public meeting, the presiding officer will announce, if possible, the time when and circumstance under which a discussion conducted in executive session will be disclosed to the public.
Motion to go in executive.
Second?
Thank you.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Nicastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:32, September 25, 2018. The executive session minutes from tonight's meeting can be disclosed to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. I would like to stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mayor, may I just, before we do that, when we take a moment of silence tonight, I'd like to remember Susan Kalmar, otherwise known as Susie Girl to us. She was a long-term employee in community development that passed away last week. Her funeral was tonight, actually, so just keep her family in your thoughts and prayers tonight. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the minutes, please?
Anybody need a separate? No? Everyone was here?
Excuse
we will,
absence
yeah. I'll
was,
make a
right,
motion to
Councilwoman
approve. We will.
Smith.
Yeah.
May I have a second?
Second?
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nicastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes, ma'am. We have a proclamation this evening. It's to recognize fire prevention with Chief Lewis. If I could have at the, if you please come up, Chief Lewis and Inspector Hopkins and Inspector Halpin, please.
let's go see the chief.
So the proclamation reads, Fire Prevention Week, October 7th through the 13th, 2018. Whereas the Township of Howell is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in, working in, and visiting Howell Township, and whereas the fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire, and whereas home fires killed 2,735 people in the United States in 2016, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the U.S. respond to 352,000 home fires, and whereas 4 out of 5 U.S. fire deaths occur at home each year, the fire death rate per 1,000 home fires reported to U.S. fire departments was 10% higher in 2016 than it was in 1980. And whereas Howell Township residents should identify places in their home where fires can start and eliminate those hazards. Whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half, Howell residents should install smoke alarms in every sleeping room, outside each sleeping area, and on every level of the home. And whereas Howell residents should listen for the sound of the smoke alarm, and when it sounds, respond by going outside immediately to a designated meeting place. And whereas Howell residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas Howell Township first responders are dedicated to reducing the recurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas Howell Township residents are responsive to public education measures and are able to take action to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas the 2018 Fire Prevention Week theme, Look, Listen, Learn, Be Aware, Fire Can Happen Anywhere, effectively serves to remind us that we need to take personal steps to increase our safety from fire. Now therefore, I, Teresa Berger, Mayor, do therefore proclaim October 7th through 13th, 2018 as Fire Prevention Week throughout Howell Township, and urge all residents to be aware of their surroundings, look for available ways out in an event of a fire or other emergency, respond when smoke alarm sounds by exiting the building immediately, and supporting the many public safety activities and efforts of the Howell Township Fire and Emergency Services during Fire Prevention Week 2018. Thank you.
Thank you.
So if I could just add on to that, look, listen, learn, be aware, fire can happen anywhere. There are brochures out in the hallway when you came in, pick them up, look at them, remember them. Most importantly, remember whenever you hear a smoke alarm, whether it be in your own home or in a store or anywhere you may be, take action. A lot of people just stop and look around to see if anybody else is taking action. Well, don't wait for somebody else to tell you this is a real emergency. You don't know. Sometimes you don't know what's happening in the other room or in the stock room or above your head in the ceiling. There could be a fire and you don't even know it until it's too late. Fires move a lot faster than they used to. You heard the statistic from 1980 to 2016. There was a big difference in the fire deaths. That's because we build houses differently than we used to. They're tighter than they used to be. There's more materials we put in those homes that are not made of the same materials they used to be made. Temperatures in a fire home used to burn at 1,200 degrees. Now they're over 2,000 degrees. I don't know about you, but I plan and I practice my exit drills. So I'm going to get out alive. Make sure you do too. Thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing all you guys out there on all of our activities coming up in October. So thank you. I want to get a quick picture if you won't mind. Most of it.
Let's keep Rob out of it, though.
Okay.
Do you want to get on both sides, maybe, or you want to?
I'll move you stay.
Rob, go to the outside, put the mayor in the middle.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
stylish. I'm very stylish. Okay. Before we begin, I just would like to ask, we have on the agenda, an agenda item for sheds. Is there anyone opposed to the agenda item that is on this evening for sheds? Is that why everyone is here? The what? Did you hear that?
Nobody on, they said yes.
Yes. Okay, so you're opposed or you're for it? You're opposed to it. So we have opposed and not opposed. Is that what I'm hearing?
Okay. Which means they're for it.
Which means you're for it. You're for it. So if you're for keeping your sheds, you don't need to come up and speak. If you want us to take your shed away, then I'm opening up the floor to you. No?
Okay?
Thank you. So there is
Same as all
no,
time.
no one has signed this sheet. So I'm going to say that there's no one to come up and speak this evening for the agenda items, or are there?
There's some things I want to ask them. before we go into the meeting. Not about this, about other things.
What-
That's public.
That's what I'm saying. There's nobody
There's
signed on
nobody
this.
signed up, so there's,
That's why I'm asking the question. Should I put this back? Do anybody want to speak this evening? Is anybody in the
No.
Mayor, we can also open it during the
You really
ordinance
don't.
piece.
Okay.
We can open it during the ordinances,
okay.
there'll be public.
well, by law.
They're all good. The only thing you're gonna have to worry about is whether or not you get wet when you go back to your car. Look at you.
Do we have any other reports from the township officials?
Mayor, I do have one change. I'm sorry, did I jump on? Go ahead. I'm so sorry. I do have one add-on resolution to the agenda from the preliminary to the final. It is 9A11, authorized revision to Resolution R18-235. That was authorizing refund of overpaid taxes. And that's my one change to the agenda.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Gentlemen?
Mayor, one thing on the resolutions, 9A2 will have
Good
to be
one.
a separate vote tonight. So we will
Okay.
pull that for a separate vote, so when you do your consent agenda.
Yes.
On the rest of the engineering and community development side, just want to give you a quick update. We actually were scheduled to start our large road program today. Unfortunately, the rain had better plans, so we will be starting that by the end of this week. We've also started construction on the Freewood Acres and Route 9 sanitary sewer project. We were doing test pits and locating all of our underground utilities for the last couple weeks. We're going to be starting on the west side within the next week or two, actually installing sewer mains. So both of those projects are moving forward.
Thank you.
And that's all I have for engineering.
Okay.
Mayor, could I?
Please.
Mr. Herman, where are we with the traffic studies from the county on Southern Howell with a proposed transfer station?
So the county has just informed me today, actually, that they have hired an outside engineer to perform a traffic study of the intersection of Route 547 and Randolph Road with the potential for the transfer station to go in. So they're looking at it saying, okay, what would the traffic be? You know, what are all the numbers? So they're basically refuting, or they're there to either refute or confirm the solid waste transfer station's engineer. So the county went out and hired their own independent engineer to do this. It actually went to Boswell Engineering of North Jersey. They're going to come down and do the traffic study to see if they agree or disagree with this engineer for the transfer station.
Now, I'm hearing rumbles about there being another project down there, 80,000 to 100,000 square foot building down near Randolph Road. Is that also being included in this traffic study?
So are you referring to 41 Randolph LLC, which recently got approved?
Isn't there a big one that's trying to get approved?
Okay, so 41 Randolph recently got approved by the planning board. That was about 100,000 square foot mixed-use warehouse facility.
Okay.
And then I've actually met with potential developers for the site, let's say, across from Arnold Steel, which is now a big wooded tract of land. There used to be a horse track there, I think, back in the day. There's been numerous development proposals for that piece of property over the years. The most recent one, which we met with the developer 3 weeks ago, was 1.2 million square feet of warehouse and office space
Where?
on Randolph Road, just east of the proposed transfer station site,
By Arnold Steel.
across from Arnold Steel.
1.2.
So,
1.2 million square foot of air, of
Amazon?
space?
I was
of
just gonna
warehouse
say, is
and
Amazon
office.
coming to Howell that you haven't told us?
Not that I know of, but that's a lot of space. And, you know, we'll have to take that into account.
What's the space zoned for?
How many acres is that
SED.
property? How many acres is that property, Jim?
About 105. And they're proposing to use 70 acres.
I mean, where can we go with this? One, I'd like to see this governing body pass the resolution, and I would like us to see these traffic studies before they get it sent out to the DEP. So if we have disagreements, I think this governing body should hire and have their own traffic studies done independent, away from everybody.
I think you also have to take into account the time of day, because when I would travel into Lakewood, on the way out of Lakewood, Old Tavern Road, it goes almost all the way back to Soldier Memorial some days. So that's not very far from the station either.
And then put a transfer station at $1.2 million of flex space.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
1.2
so.
million square foot.
Square foot.
1.2 million.
Square
Square
foot
foot.
flex
Foot.
space.
Yeah, he said million.
Million.
So
1.2 million
just to
square
confirm,
foot. It's crazy.
if you
Hold
guys,
on. What can we do? I don't want anything going to the DEP, because I am adamantly opposed to what's happening down there. And I really would like us to do something about it, see these traffic studies, have our people look at them, and if we decide we need another one done, we want our own traffic studies done.
But I would also suggest, Jim, that this information is relayed to the county of proposed projects coming in that area, so that could be incorporated into their study.
will do.
Absolutely.
Put a resolution together for this governing body and make sure that it's a public document. And Mr. Herman, you need to stay close to this and relay whatever comes back from these studies to the governing body. I don't care how much it rains.
So I'll call the county administrator and make sure that she is aware that we would like to see the studies before they are finalized.
If the governing body is okay, I don't want you calling anybody. I want a paper trail.
Okay?
I don't want nobody saying nobody conveyed this information, okay? A paper trail.
It would seem to me the county would be happy to share the information with us, considering the fact that it's, it's planned to be in the community that we govern. So, I mean, there would be no reason why they would say no, I can't imagine.
No, I don't think so. They've waited actually to authorize this study until school was back in session because they didn't want to do the study over the summer when the traffic counts would have been lower because there would have been a lack of school buses and school traffic. So they're doing the right thing here at least. They're waiting till the school year is in session to have the consultant do the study.
Do we have
So
any
that's-
idea?
Pardon?
When would the traffic study begin? Do we
I
have
have
any
no idea. They're going to authorize it
Okay.
at their freeholder meeting tomorrow.
Okay,
And
all
what would be-
I'm sorry, Thursday.
right,
I
thank
mean, what else would be in addition to with all this traffic with the new project? You're talking a whole different ballgame here.
Incredible.
That much space, you're an engineer. Is there gonna be a lot more traffic?
Yes.
Mayor, you drive that road
Yes, sir.
often. It's backed up sometimes 3-4 miles,
I'm opposed to the project.
okay? So it's backed up 3-4 miles and now all of this on top of it?
I'm opposed to the project.
I'm adamantly opposed to the project also, but I want to make sure that there's a paper trail with us being against it. I want to see the DEP studies before they go there,
I have no issue with that.
okay?
Are we good?
No, I'm not good.
I would like to open this portion of the meeting for hearing of the citizens. If anybody wants to come up to speak, please do so now at this time. Okay. You have to come up to the microphone with your name and address. Right up here. You could go in front
You
of
can
it
go
and
up this
face
side.
us. Thank
And just
you.
turn the microphone to you.
And you may have to turn it on.
No, it's on.
It's on.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I don't actually live in Howell anymore.
Your name and address.
I'm Gina Gerard. I don't live in Howell anymore.
Address.
106 Frontier Way, Tenton Falls, New Jersey.
Thank you.
So I'm actually here because I want to buy some commercial space in Howell, and you guys just keep telling me no. So I just wanted to, I've been talking to Matt Howard about zoning and the rules in Howell, and he suggested that I come and just kind of throw the idea out there that for fitness spaces, it's retail only, bless you,
Thank you.
in Howell, and warehouses are not zoned for that. And I'm sure there's a million reasons for it, but I just want to kind of open your minds up to maybe considering allowing warehouse space for fitness, because retail space doesn't make sense for fitness, aside from foot traffic. And there are so many empty warehouse spaces, like right across from Howell Middle School North, that's been open forever, and that whole business park on, what is that, Main Street in Farmingdale, which is zoned to Howell, and there's a building on Okerson, which is freehold but considered Howell, and I really just want any of those three. And you guys just keep saying no, and I know even if it was something that was going to be considered to be changed over, it'd be years from now, and I'll already have a space somewhere else, so I'm really just setting the fold for my competition down the road. But I just want to throw it out there, because I mean, I manage Retro, which is right here, and it's in a retail space, and it just doesn't make sense for fitness to be in retail. It makes more sense for open warehouse space to be available for that, because fitness is an open area. So I just came to say that.
Where's Retro over on Asbury Road? What is that zoned over there, Jim?
No, wait, what? Retro's right here.
There's another Retro in Northern Howell, right on the border.
I think that's freehold.
That's freehold.
That's
Is
freehold.
that Freehold?
That's freehold.
Okay, it was right down the border of Howell and Freehold, right?
So, like, there's a huge open building on Okerson, which is, like, right off of 33.
Sure.
I heard nope. There is a big building on Route 33. I heard nope. I don't really want that one, though. That whole park, business park, I think it's, like, a gateway on 100 Central Ave. Whole thing, abandoned, empty, nothing going on. I would happily give you my money. Nope. And the big-ass warehouse that's across from Middle School North, empty, 17,000 square feet, doing nothing. I'll give you my money for that one, too. Nope. So, just, listen, I don't know how any of that works, honestly. So, it's just, you know, someone speaking who's been in fitness for 10 years. It just makes more sense for open buildings, because it gives you more space to expand and get bigger. Like, we're next to Bed Bath & Beyond. We can't get any bigger. There's nothing we can do. So we're just stuck, and it's a failing gym because of it. You know, so the ability to grow is very important.
Well, we could discuss it at another meeting at this point. I mean, we have to talk with the planning board and with Jim.
He
and-
told me, he's like, listen, even if it
It's-
happens, it wouldn't be for years. He's like, but you should at least say something.
Sure.
So I was like,
I wouldn't buy that.
Thank you for bringing the
Yeah,
information.
yeah, I wouldn't buy that. Why? Mr. DeCastro, why?
I can't tell you why we, in the SED zone, we didn't allow gyms. I know we just approved it in the HD1 zone, but as the mayor and I both sit on the planning board as liaisons, we will bring it to the to the master plan and have them look at it. Jim, unless there's something you can add, it doesn't make sense to me. But I didn't.
So Matt and I, in addition to everything else we work on, look
And
at all these ordinances.
I just want to say, I know there was a proposal from the master plan to do SED 1, 2, and 3. I just, at the top of my head, maybe recreation was part of that, or fitnesses, I'm not sure.
It was not, but most recently, last year, we actually adopted a bunch of ordinances, if you remember, in 2017, late 2017, to include
Trade.
many more definitions and include things like indoor recreation, health clubs, and fitness facilities. And we put them in NC or HC, HD1, HD2, HD3, which we thought covered most of where these would go. And what we're finding is that the new paradigm is really shifting towards warehouse space, right? It's not putting the gym on Route 9 in the fancy big gym center. It's having the CrossFit gym in a warehouse in the middle of a warehouse complex, right? So we've actually already considered it, and Matt has already started drafting an ordinance that we would like to propose to you and to the planning board to allow these types of facilities in the SED zone. Now, Mr. Nicastro brought up a good point. There was a proposal a number of years ago from the planning board, master plan subcommittee, and the full planning board to alter some of our SED zones and create what they called SED 1, 2, 3 light, different versions of SED. And I think we're actually also looking at potentially bringing that back to life, maybe not having 4 different SED zones, but maybe taking out the big, manufacturing one or the most intense one, and potentially rezoning some areas that are ARE zones now that are probably better suited for SED, because there's SED there already. A lot of places have warehouse or construction yards in an ARE zone that got variances back in the day. But to get to them, you have to go through ARE zones. Doesn't make any sense. So we're potentially looking at changing that as well. So as a combination of Mr. Nicastro's, SED recommendations, or from the planning board back then, and some of the gym comments that we're getting, we're actually considering presenting to you a proposal to add those.
Okay.
That
And
would
it
be like
makes
how many
sense.
years,
It makes
though?
sense.
Because gyms' margins of, is very important on how much they pay a square foot. So paying on Route 9, $20 to $30 a square versus a warehouse maybe at 10, I'm just hypothetical numbers. It makes sense.
That, and it really, that obviously everybody wants the cheapest rate, but space is like the biggest thing.
Size.
Space. But so like all that stuff you're talking about, that's gonna take like how long?
Couple months.
I like that better than years.
It all depends. If we can have enough time to draft the ordinances, present them to the attorneys, make sure that everybody agrees with it, present it to the council, they would have to introduce it at a meeting just like tonight. So potentially you're talking October 9th. If we got it done that fast, you could introduce one. It would have to go to the planning board. The planning board has to review it and make sure it's consistent with our master plan. And then they would write a resolution back to the governing body saying, yes, we think this is sufficient. And then the governing body would adopt it. It would take place, it could take place in really a couple months.
I like that. What do I gotta do to make that happen?
If Matt has
I'm gonna
your,
push that along.
You already did it.
I
But
appreciate that.
you already did all you could do.
I appreciate that very,
okay.
very much.
does Matt have your contact information?
I'm sure I've been bugging him so much.
Awesome, okay. So we know how to get a hold of you if we need to.
I appreciate it so much, guys. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Bless you too. Drive safe.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wants to come up to the microphone? There being no one else, I would like to close this session, this
We have a
portion of
separate
the
vote on
meeting.
9A2, right?
Yes, sir.
So what do we have, 9A1 and 9A3 through 18?
11. 9 and
11.
9A11. Make a motion, we approve 9A1 and 9A3 through 11.
Second?
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
9A2, what do we need to hear from Lou?
Mr. Palazzo,
It's a
please.
separate vote.
Or actually, I think both Jim and Lou are going to be.
So I'll give you the high-level review right now.
Sorry.
Mr. Palazzo has been working with our bond counsel and our financial analysts, basically to look at all of the bond anticipation notes that we're carrying right now, and have decided that it would be in the town's best interest to permanently finance a portion of that existing ban. We're currently looking at about $34,650,000 in existing bans, and we're proposing to permanently finance $9 million of that into a long-term bond, okay? At the end of the day, there are principal payments that are now going to be required from some of the older bans, so our cost for next year's budget is going to increase. So if we're going to have the increase, we're looking at permanently financing and having a slightly higher increase, and basically getting the same thing, only we're permanently financing the money, okay? So what that all means is If we were to do nothing and continue to roll over the bands, okay, at 34 million and change, our payments next year affected to the budget are going to be 600 and, where's that number at? 650,000 roughly, okay? That's if we do nothing. That's because we have to pay an additional principal payment now on the ban. If we were to permanently finance $9 million, okay, our payment next year would be 782,000. So for roughly 132,000 more in our budget, okay, we're actually going to permanently finance 9 million rather than just keep rolling the ban over. So the auditor or the financial advisors have said, based on the continued low interest rates, the projection that interest rates are going to rise in the future, that now would be the time to lock in a permanent finance. We have plans in the long term, within the next 4 years, to permanently finance, let's say, the remaining 25 million, when our bond from 2010 comes off the books. So that'll be 2022. So in 2022, we have over a $2 million payment, principal payment that we're making every year that will be coming off the books from a 2010 bond, okay? Our goal is to be a net neutral effect on the budget. So we will roll off the old bond payment, permanently finance the remaining 25 million, roughly, right? And really see no change. Now, that doesn't mean that every year between now and then, we're going to have no capital work. We're still going to have to do capital work, right? We still have infrastructure to improve. But I think from an overall perspective, this is a very good plan at this time. So I would urge you to consider bonding, permanently financing $9 million of the $34 million ban that we have outstanding right now.
So could you just explain permanently financing?
Sure.
Thank you, Lou.
I mean, just to kind of analogize it, I mean, you're basically, you're locking in that certain amount at where you're going to put the bonds up for sale, and the winning bidder, that money will be set to be paid back at that specific interest rate. So
Similar to someone's mortgage?
exactly, yes, exactly. So you are locking in at a fixed rate for that fixed period of time, whereas where we are rolling the notes, you're more at a variable rate. This year it could be 3%. Next year it could be 3.25%.
Right.
You had that interest rate risk. So by permanently financing, you are locking in your cost for that certain period of time.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, ma'am.
And it also doesn't give us the inability down the road to refinance down to lower rates.
Right,
It
Right,
just
I get it.
caps us on what our payments can be.
right. This was very good, Lou. Thank you very much. You did an excellent, excellent job on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So can I have,
I make a motion that we approve bonding of the $9 million.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes?
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
yes. Okay. Oy. I do, but I have to read it first, but.
Did we do 9B1? Was that included in yours?
9B1 was not included. You have to do that separate.
Yeah, no, I don't think you did.
The 9B1, the 9B3 through 11.
You
No,
did?
The 9B1, we
No,
did
you
it, the
did not.
9A1.
Make a motion to approve 9B1?
Second,
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes?
Mr. Walsh?
yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. I'd like to open the public section of this meeting on ordinances. Is there anyone here that would like to speak about the ordinances?
No, this isn't right.
You have to
gotta
Follow
introduce.
script.
What did I do?
Read the statement
Oh,
first.
Jesus, I'm so sorry. Ordinance number 0-18-29, introduced and passed on first reading on 9/4/18, and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press, issue of 9/7/18, is submitted and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell.
I would like to open up this portion of the meeting to the public. I'll close this portion. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that ordinance number 01829 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 9/17/2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes, ma'am. 0-18-30. So we're just going to vote this down
Yeah, we're voting it down and then we're introducing
and
another
introducing
one.
the other one. So may I have a motion? Or do you want me to, there's
Still
nothing to
gotta-
read.
Does she still have to read anything? No.
No, it's crossed off.
No, make a
Motion
motion
to,
to vote it down.
Yeah, motion to vote down. Ordinance number O-1830.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes?
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. My goodness, did you hear that rain?
A good call not doing that road project today, Jim, from the sounds of it.
Ordinance 0-18-31. Ordinance number 0-18-31, introduced and passed on first reading on 9/4/18 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 9/7/18 is submitted and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
I'll get to it. Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 3, Section 188-11, entitled Accessory Buildings of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I'd like to open this, yes? Or we do the motion first, right? Open it first. Please.
Sandra Solly, Birdsall Road, Farmingdale. I just wanted someone to explain the purpose of this amendment to me, this ordinance. I don't understand what it means about abandonment to amend the setback required. What does that mean?
Which portion was that, Mrs. Solly?
It's a third sentence, second sentence.
Which paragraph are you reading?
11830, no, I'm reading off the agenda. It says abandonment to amend the setback required for accessory buildings. I don't understand the abandonment word.
Which ordinance are you looking at?
To abandon the setback, not the...
They're abandoning a setback, not the building.
Well, no, but I still don't understand the purpose.
They're taking away the setback. There's no need for it.
So you can put it right next to the property line?
The typo.
Typo it is.
It's a typo. It's meant to be the chapter 188-11, accessory buildings, not abandonment. It must have been a copy and paste.
Thank you. I thought I was going crazy because I didn't understand it.
I was gonna second that, Sandra.
Well,
I know you would. So anyway, so now what's it supposed to say?
accessory buildings.
The setback required for accessory buildings. So what I didn't understand was, and it says residential materials, so that means like you're storing your lawnmower and a bicycle in there? What does that mean? You can't be using it for a business?
No.
Residential
And,
only.
and are you allowed to
It's
have?
a shed.
I know what it is, but it just says residential materials, and it says, so it's gotta be 10 by 12, and it has to be 8 feet or less.
In height.
So if it's 8.5, it's no good?
Correct.
Correct.
It's a standard shed. Almost every shed in Howell that's an 8 by 12 will meet these requirements. Most of them are 8 feet or less, and we tried to cover as many of them as we possibly could.
We're talking about heights, right?
Correct.
Yes.
All right, so that was my concern, that I didn't understand abandonment, to amend the setback. And now, do you have to have, the shed has to be so many feet away from the side property line? I didn't read the whole thing, I'm sorry, I'm looking at this,
No, so that's the whole point of this, is if you're on a small lot
right?
with a reasonable residential shed,
Right?
instead of requiring it to be 5 feet off the property line or the height of the structure, depending on your zone,
Okay,
we're saying that we have thousands of these sheds in the township
okay,
that don't cause any problems or any pain to anyone else.
okay.
So why are we enforcing an ordinance that just gives everybody grief? Let's make it reasonable, put it at 0, and that way everybody gets to keep their shed.
Sounds good to me. But once again, it says residential material, so if someone's using it for business storage, that's a different issue.
That's correct. You're not supposed to be running a business from your home.
Oh, I know that. All right, thank you. Oh, can I ask a stupid question? Why are the lights on at Oakland Park? Field? Lights are on, lit up like a Christmas tree.
Maybe they were gonna try to play ball tonight.
So why are the lights on?
Maybe they were trying to play ball and nobody called to say cancel the lights for tonight. They're still paying for them.
They pay, not we.
Correct.
Oh, okay, thank you.
The lights are rented.
I was just curious.
Ordinance number 0-18-32, introduced and passed on first reading on 9/4/18 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing.
Yeah,
31.
You did?
thank you.
We did 31.
Then we need to do, that was the hearing of citizens for 31.
Yes,
You
we
didn't-
do
you
the
didn't do a
motion.
roll
We didn't
call.
do the roll call
Just
motion.
you closing the public portion?
Yeah.
I'm closing the public portion for
Motion to ordinance number O-18-30 will be finally passed and adopted, and the notice of its passed and adopted will be published in the...
Friday, September 28th.
Motion to ordinance number O-18-31 be finally passed and adopted, notice is passed and adopted will be published in the
Friday, September 28th.
9/28 issued as Park Press, by reference to its title only.
Second.
Wow.
Roll
Was
call.
that Asbury Park Press?
Yes, in the Asbury Park
Okay,
Press.
hang on a sec. Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
On 9/28, yes.
Friday, September 28th. Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry for the error. Let me go back. Ordinance number 0-18-32, introduced and passed on first reading on 9/4/18 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 9/7/18 is submitted, and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, and that copies are available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 188, Attachment 5, Land Use Application Checklist.
I'd like to open this for the public hearing. I'll close it. May I have a motion?
A motion that ordinance number 01832 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 9/28/18 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
A second,
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes, ma'am. Introduction?
What?
Introduction of ordinances.
We're on 1832, right?
33. Here.
Yeah. Got it.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-18-33 on first reading by title. In order to say to be published in 9/28/18 issued in the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and pass it on first reading by title. And that'll be further considered for final passage at the public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council will be held on 10/9/18 at 7:30 PM prevailing time in municipal building.
Second?
Title of ordinance, an ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes?
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes, ma'am. 11-2. Someone, please.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 01834 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in the September 28th, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on October 9th, 2018 at 7:30 PM prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 3, Section 188-15, entitled Decks of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs.
Yes, ma'am.
O'Donnell?
Yes?
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Do we have any unfinished business? No? Do we have any information that needs to be discussed? The following meeting dates: on Tuesday, October 9th, it's CDBG public hearing at 6, executive session at 6:30, and regular session at 7:30. The next regular meeting would be October 23rd, 2018, executive session at 6:30, and regular at 7:30. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Nah, it's too early.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Somebody just clarify what's going on with the sheds?
It passed.
It was passed.
You're okay.
You can keep them
No.
all.
You're all fine.
I tried to tell you that in the beginning.
You're all good.
All the violations you received are gone.
Stay dry.